Hey guys, thank you for checking out our video. My name's Sean Elders and this is Pinnacle Combat Arts. Like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we get a new video. Today we're going to be talking about striking for the street. Let's get started. One of the realities of combat is that we train a certain way. For instance, some people train with their fists like this and they throw punches like that. And they automatically assume that they could do that in a street fight. And so there are certain types of situations and certain types of scenarios where that is just not going to work, okay? Based on my experience, okay? So I grew up in a really rough neighborhood in Baltimore. And when I was about 7 years old, I started to have to deal with deal with combat, deal with street altercations and stuff like that. As a little kid, I had to get into fights and things like that because in the bad part of Baltimore, you basically have to have your own like little posse, your own little group of people that you have to stay with because everybody has their own little corner inside the projects, and you have to be able to protect yourself, and you have to have a group because if you go to another corner or go to another spot, somebody may jump you, somebody's going to take you. Everybody's like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And that kind of thing. So I grew up in a really kind of a violent situation. I saw a lot of crime take place. I saw a lot of violence growing up. And so the reality of me having to learn how to defend myself was so important and a key essence to street altercations. And so from 7 years old on, I got into, just so many different altercations. It's ridiculous. I mean, when I was 6 years old, I got jumped by 3 guys just because they wanted to steal my shoes for their little brother. So that kind of gives you an idea about like what I've been through and the experiences that I've had. So when it comes to combat, I have broken my hands. I've broken the bones back here, the metacarpals here. I've broken knuckles, I've jammed fingers, I've done all this kind of stuff in combat, and I learned the hard way that in combat you need to understand what you're up against when it comes to street altercation, okay? So the idea of the plethora of information that I've learned from the time I was 7, probably the last time I was in a violent altercation, I was about 23, 24 years old. So that's a huge range of time that I was in, and I've dealt with. I've been in executive security. I've done all sorts of type of bodyguard work. I've dealt with different types of security of working perimeter areas and dealing with civilians and different things like that. I've trained military and combatives and law enforcement, and we've done battle games and things like that. I've been sparring and doing that since I was just a little kid also. So my training spectrum is very wide, and my understanding of combat is very wide based on based on that experience. So one of the things that you need to understand is that if you do not, I used to think that conditioning my hands, I conditioned my hands when I was a kid. I started doing traditional martial arts when I was young with really old, guys that taught me taught me the old ways of conditioning the hands. And so I studied even the iron palm. I did all that. I did the makiwara from the Japanese style. I did all these different things, and it still did not make a difference in certain situations. In some situations, it worked fine. But in other situations, when I punch somebody, the issue is that if I hit bone, if I hit the top of somebody's skull, for instance, with my knuckle, that's what happened here, is this bone right here broke. And so that bone broke, and now my knuckle is back here. The doctor said, oh, you just jammed your finger, and he didn't even do an x-ray to find out that this bone back here broke, and it fused back like this, and my knuckle's far back here. So I've broken almost all these metacarpals back here. When I condition my hands, I mostly condition my hands on the front part. But in iron palm, you also hit like this on the top, and you try to strengthen those bones in the back. But I did that, and I still broke my hands. So you have to understand that in combat, sometimes the best way to strike is with your palms. But if you are going to strike with your knuckles, there are certain ways to do that. And today I'm going to show you guys a little bit about that. So one of the things when we're in combat is we have to understand how to strike and what parts of our hands we should. One of the things that I think is important, like for instance, a lot of people say, well, poke them in the eyes, okay? But if you poke somebody in the eyes straight on like this, okay, you're gonna jam your fingers, okay? When you do what we call in like Wing Chun or Jump Fan, we call it Buji, okay? When we do Buji, you want to Buji with your fingerprints. That's important. And you can do that really hard and not hurt your fingers, okay? And not jam any bone structure. So it's important if I went to go, for instance, if I went for her head and she's in a good boxer's stance and I try to go to the eyes and I go here and she ducks her head down and my fingers go straight in like that, guess what? If I do that hard enough, I'm gonna jam my fingers, okay? So what you wanna do is you wanna use the fingerprint, I call it fingerprint, okay? Use your fingerprints to Buji, because I can do it really hard on the bone, anywhere on the bone, and it's gonna be okay, okay? You could do this on the side of a wall. There may be some discomfort, but you will be able to do it. And the idea is you're trying to go to the eyes, right? Okay, but you're not always going to go to the eyes. That's the whole idea. You have to understand, if somebody's a good fighter and they're moving their head, they're moving their body, you try to do a Buji, okay, you're not going to always get that. You're not always going to hit them in the eyes. If you hit in the eyes, great. You got a few seconds to be able to follow up and take them down. But that's the idea. So the other one is when I'm using my knuckles, okay? If I throw a jab, for instance, I want to aim for her chin, that's great. And you'll be fine with you hit him right on the chin. But if I throw a punch and she tucks her head down and I hit the top of the thickest part of her skull is the top of her head. This is where we teach people to headbutt, okay? If I hit the top of her head, guess what? Where is it going to budge? It's going to budge at the weakest point. And the metacarpals, these little bones, that's what it's called, right? Metacarpals. The metacarpals here, these bones, they will be the first thing to give out, okay? And I don't care how hard you condition and you even do like the iron palm and you strike down on the metal beads, these bones still could break, okay? Because I did it, I practiced it. And it's still, this bone right here broke. And I've actually had the bone here break and the bone here break here. That's why my knuckle divots right there. Because it's the bone, the knuckles actually sunken in. Luckily, it didn't fuse. There's a bump here where it fused, but it didn't fuse way back here. This strike right here was really, really hard, okay? And so it's important that you understand when you're throwing, if you're gonna throw a barehanded knuckle to a person's face, if they dip their head down, you do not wanna punch the top of their head, okay? Secondly, when I throw a punch, it's better for me to, if they are in the habit of tucking their head like that, it's better for me to strike with a palm. And specifically, I want to strike with this area right here, okay? You want to test out and see where it is effective for you. But this little area right here is really, really important. This is an important part right here to strike with, okay? You don't want to strike with the top part. You don't want to strike with here because this is not going to be as efficient. You want to have it where it's in the bone structure here, okay? Now, when we talk about like any kind of hook, okay? In the old days, boxers hooked like this. They would hook with this angle right here. But what would happen is they would get a boxer's fracture, just like I have right here. I have a boxer's fracture right there. That bone right there broke. And it's just because I was throwing and I don't even know how I broke it because you're in a violent altercation and things just happen and you don't even know when that happened. You just know that after it's all said and done and you're walking away, that this bone's not messed up and the hand swells up and everything. That's all you know. But one of the things that I was taught later on is, or when I started learning boxing, I learned how to box and I did a hook like this. And the reason why is because you want to hit with these two bones so this lines up with the rest of the structure. And that's the idea to this. So doing this one, it's not so good. Now, the reason where this came from is it used to be a hook here. See that? And it's actually an elbow. Okay, and this is actually from Pana Tukan. You would put a knife in the hand and this is a cut like this. Then when the cut went away, you could either strike with the hand here or you would strike with the elbow. And that's where this tight hook comes from. Okay, and now I'm not talking about the old Western Jack Dempsey or the fisticuff style. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that where during World War II people went over the Philippines or the World War II soldiers and they learned Panantukan, or they learned the basics of Panantukan, where they started to use bobbing, weaving, slipping, ducking, and they started to activate and use these other methods besides the fisticuff style. So when we throw a hook, we want to have it like this. Now, if they turn their head down to it, which I'm kind of giving you a little bit of a secret here, because this is one of the methods you can do. It's can be bad on the brainstem, it can be bad on the spine, but turning your head down into the punch, that is a method of fighting. Now, is it the best method? Not in my opinion, but it is a method if you're too late or something like that. In the Paul Vunak realms, he calls it the Charles Bronson, because he saw it done in a Charles Bronson movie once, and then he tried it and he's like, oh, this actually works. It's another destruction technique. So hooking like this, now if you're not sure and their head moves down, the best way is to go here, and you're going to use the same part of the palm, okay, and you're going to do it right on the jawline. If you're doing a hook, you want to do it on this jawline, and you want to hit retract. You don't want to hit through. You want to hit retract and bring your hand back to your guard. Hit retract and bring your hand back to your guard. That's very important. Okay, if you pull through, guess what? Boom, you get knocked out that way. Okay, so we want to make sure that our movement is proper. Okay, now when we talk about the overhand, okay, the overhand, if you're going to use your knuckles, you don't want to overhand like this, because your knuckles are going to be exposed right here. You want to turn the knuckle over, and you can chest this out on a punching bag. You want to hit with this part of the knuckle when you hit, and you want to hit same thing. You want to hit along the jawline. That's what you want to hit on. Now, when we talk about if they're turning their head down at it, you want to use your palm. Same thing. You want to use this palm here, because if they turn it down and you hit the top of their head, it's not going to hurt as bad. It's not going to break anything, okay, necessarily. That's an important part of this whole thing. What I also like about the palm strike is that if I go like this and I come in and she turns her head down like this, I can adapt that to a grab to the neck. I can adapt that to grabbing the hair or grabbing the hands or trapping the hands or whatever it needs to be. It doesn't have to be that. One of the things when we talk about the uppercut, okay, if you have gloves, you uppercut like this. And a lot of these techniques are based on wearing gloves. If I hook like this, it's great for glove, but it's not always going to be the greatest for no glove boxing, okay? When I uppercut, for instance, when I go and do an uppercut, the proper way of doing it is using your body mechanics, using your body behind the uppercut, and we're moving our body off to the side. When I do that, I want to make sure that my knuckles, if I'm like this, I'm not always going to do it like that, especially if I'm going to go here like this to the body like that. But sometimes I may want to turn it up like this into this upward motion. Okay, it's very unorthodox, but it's very effective, especially if you're in a clinch position like this, and I'm in this position and I'm striking here to the ribs, okay, or I'm striking here to the brainstem. That's an important part. You see, that's effective. Okay, if I overhand, I can overhand like this with my knuckles. Okay. If I uppercut, when I uppercut, for instance, if I'm on this side and I uppercut here, see that? Come this way. See this? If I'm here and I uppercut here, or if I'm in the left lead and I go here like this, I can uppercut like that, but I can also uppercut and come more to the kidneys like that, okay? But the best way, again, if you're not sure, maybe they put their elbow down. Oh, it stinks when somebody puts their elbow down and you uppercut their elbow. Ooh, it hurts. So, palm strike. When we palm strike, boom, I'm putting my body behind it. Bam, I'm hitting to the body. This part goes to the ribs. So if I'm here like this, so for instance, she throws a jab, boom, and I come here and I go bam, just like that. Do that here. I slip, okay? And notice my other hand's up like this. Bam, I'm striking and I'm upward, right up underneath the ribs there. That's important, okay? Those rib shots. Hit and retract, okay? It's very important that you hit and retract with these, okay? You could use your knuckles, okay? But if they put that elbow down on top, bam, break your knuckles. So it's the same thing with the face. You can go up like this to the face, just like that, okay? When you're uppercutting to the face here, okay? If I go to this position, I come straight up, that's fine, all fine and great, okay? But if they use their knuckle or they use their elbow and I'm trying to do that uppercut and I end up hitting the elbow, okay, not so great. So sometimes when I do here, just have your hands down so they can see a little bit better. When I uppercut, I'm gonna use my palm right up underneath the chin here, just like that, okay? All right, so what I recommend is I recommend that you practice both knuckles, and I call it knuckle striking or palm striking. So you're just getting here and you're used to, so you're practicing those palm striking, okay? And then you can also do that with, you know, with your hands like this, you know, just like that. And so you're moving around and you're able to do it this way, or you can come in and you can do all palm, just like that, bam, bam, you know, and you're moving. Make sure you practice doing your body mechanics properly, okay? And so those are the basics of striking for the street, okay? Striking for the street is key element to all of this, okay? Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Panantukan, level 1. This program is one of the most streamlined. It's over 8.5 hours long. It gives you everything step by step, everything that you need. Fundamentals breakdown of all the exercises you need. Understanding of empty hand, how to use fight without gloves, with gloves. It's gonna teach you all the aspects that you need about the foundation and fundamentals of Panantukan, okay? Unlike what we see a lot of times now in the combatives in the Filipino martial arts world, a lot of techniques, a lot of drills, but how do you make those drills go from the drill to actual real combatives? And that's what this program, this is the first level to that, and getting you set up, learning all the aspects of how do I engage, what's the techniques, what do I need to practice to get myself where I'm able to be adaptable in combat. Okay, that's the most important thing. That's what everybody's looking for. How do I get better? How am I able to adapt when somebody attacks me? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? What I'm gonna do is I'm giving you a different perspective on Panantukan, unlike what you see in this modern day where you see a lot of drills and exercises that just don't translate to real combat. I call the meat and potatoes of combat. Not the fluff, not all the extra stuff, but only simply the things that you really need that are gonna help you be effective in combat. But the most important thing in combat is to survive. The most important thing is to be able to adapt, okay? And so that's what this program is all about. This is gonna help you go to that next level. It doesn't matter if you're a beginner or you've been doing this for 10 years, I'm gonna help fill in those gaps, fill in those holes that you've never learned before. Go to our website, pinnaclecombatarts.com. There you can find out more about what I do and the classes that I provide. Thank you guys so much for your support and have a great day.